Hey guys, it's Kayla. Today I'm going to be doing my September wrap up. Okay, so I'm gonna start. Normally I do my books in the order of how I read them, like when I read them. But I'm gonna change things up and go from like DNFs to 5-star. So we'll see. This feels kind of weird. Okay, so I had 2 DNFs this month. The first of which was the H.P. Lovecraft short story book. I can't remember what the title was. I attempted this and I just could not get into the writing. It was just very slow, wasn't pulling me in, and I decided to just not trudge through that, especially since it was a big short story collection and it was for a readathon. I do plan on trying Lovecraft again, just not something I'm planning to do anytime soon. And the second DNF was also another short story collection that was Toil and Trouble by People. And it's like a YA witchy book. And I was expecting it to be just at least a little darker, and maybe some of the stories are, but I put a lot of weight on the first short story in a collection. And the first one, it was cute. I liked it. I just wasn't in the mood for cutesy witchy. I want like dark things right now, and it just wasn't doing for me, and that's probably something I will never pick up. Ever. Okay, so now I'm going to talk about the comics I read this month. And so I finally read Saga by Brian K. Vaughan and illustrated by Fiona Staples. And oh my god, I knew I was going to love it. Yes, 5 stars. I read the books version. So I've read book 1 and book 2, which each collects 3 issues. So I've read volumes 1 through 6. So good. Love the art, love the story, all the sci-fi things that I would want. It's like the 2 warring planets, like forever warring all over the universe, and 2 beings from those warring planets get together and fall in love and have a baby, and it's just about that war and them on the run. And it's amazing. I read those as e-comics and got them both from my library. Hey, turn that off! Next comic I read was The Fox Inmate. This is a short webcomic by Emily Carroll. If you don't know, I love Emily Carroll. I've loved everything she does. She does horror short comics. Most of her works are online. And this one was really cool. I give this one 4 stars. It was a thinker. I had to kind of like, I had to think about it for a little bit, which doesn't happen too often. And yeah, it was really good. It was really gripping. This girl kind of feels like neglected from her mom, and so she's kind of like drawn to this river, and her mom doesn't want her to go to this river, and we find out why. Next I read the Backstagers Volume 2 by James Tyrion IV and Rian Sygh. Read this as an e-comic, got it from my library, 5 stars. Of course, I love the Backstagers so much. This continues on in the plot, and supposedly this is kind of a wrap up. I think they're gonna maybe bring in some new things. I don't know, but this is about some high schoolers who are the backstage crew for their theater department, and there's a secret weird world that is behind the backstage, and it's amazing, and I love it so much. Wrapping up comics, I read Fables Volume 3, 4, and 5. I read these all as e-comics. I got them all from my library. This series is by Bill Willingham and like a bajillion artists, like so many people. So I gave Volume 3 4 stars, Volume 4 4 stars, and Volume 5 3 stars, which is like the lowest I've given the volume in this series yet. But it just continue on, man. Like, we're starting to get like so much happens in each volume. It used to be kind of like standalone-y-ish, but it's finally getting to where there's a full plot line going on. And this is about the fairy tale people and creatures from storybooks that are exiled to New York City, but because the adversary, which we don't know exactly who that is yet, is conquering the Fable lands, and it's just about them living in the real world and their relationships, and it's really good. I really love it. I always try to read a few volumes each month. There's like 20, there's so many volumes and there's so many spin-offs, but yeah, it's really great. I highly recommend. Okay, so getting into my novels, I read Illuminae by Kristoff and Amie Kaufman. I listened to this on audiobook from my library, and I gave it 3 stars. I was very surprised. I don't know if it's hype syndrome or what, or audiobook. It was a really great audiobook, just like everyone says. This is about this world that got like attacked by this rival world. It has something to do with like some kind of company that I don't really know yet. And so everyone leaves their planet in 3 different ships, and it's just about them getting chased down by whoever attacked their planet. And there's a artificial intelligence on one of the ships, and hacker girl, and I don't know. It was okay. The plot was decent. I don't know if I'm just missing out because I just did audiobook only. I thought the relationship was kind of cringy. Like their whole relationship that we got from them was over like instant messaging and stuff like that, and it just felt, I don't know, cringy for me. I didn't feel anything. I didn't care about any of the characters. The only person I liked was the artificial intelligence, and he wasn't even that likable. Like, he's not supposed to be that likable. That was like the only interesting character in this book. I'm excited to continue on just to see like kind of how it progresses. Also, like the very end of the book was really good, but it didn't redeem for this large chunk of book that it was good. It was okay. I mean, it was 3 stars. It was a high 3 stars, but I was surprised because like everyone gives it 5 stars. So I don't know. And then I read The Time Machine by H.G. Wells. I read this as a physical book from my library, and I gave this another 3 stars. This is kind of like OG time travel sci-fi book here. I liked it. I liked that it was a time travel book where the man went into the future, and it wasn't a future that he expected. He expected, you know, human life to be very intelligent and very advanced. And it kind of turned out to be the opposite. And I liked the dialogue about, you know, us being safe and comfortable with our surroundings, that we don't push ourselves intellectually. But it just felt very repetitive. I thought the time traveler was really stupid and made really dumb choices. I think he had a case of like book smarts and no street smart. I just kind of found some of the things that he did or didn't do not believable. Like, I literally was just like, wow, you are making very stupid choices right now. But it was good. I'm glad I read it. If you are a sci-fi lover, I recommend it. It is pretty short. Next, I read Midworld by Alan Dean Foster. I read this as a physical book from my library, and I gave it 4 stars. I really enjoyed this one. This one's about this world that's basically just a giant rainforest, and it's about all the creatures and these humans or descendants of humans that live there, and how they live with the trees and the creatures. And it's very reminiscent of Avatar. Not exactly, but you know, it's about these humans that live with the plant life in this world, and they're very in tune with each other, and they're like one with the world and the plants and the things. And then someone comes in and, you know, tries to disturb everything. Just very emotional. I liked the characters. I cared for the characters. It was really good, and it's part of a series where I think in the series you go to like different worlds, and then there's kind of this I'm assuming the same people that invaded this planet probably invade other planets, and they're trying to, you know, take all the good from all these planets for very selfish reasons, I'm assuming. But it's something I definitely would continue on. I definitely want to continue on the series. I like the writing. I like this world, so I'm excited to see some other worlds and to see what else happens in the series. Next, I read Horrorstor by Grady Hendrix. I read this as an ebook and an audiobook from my library. And I gave this one 4 stars. I love Grady Hendrix. I'm so excited to read like everything he's ever written. His writing, apparently, I think most of his works are like this too, where it's horror, but it's like horror mixed with comedy. And this is about a knockoff IKEA store that essentially is haunted, and it's about the employees that stay there overnight to try and figure out who is like messing with their store, and some scary things happen. It's really good. It has creepy elements, and it's funny in the sense of like what the author does. There's not necessarily like laugh out loud funny moments in the book. It's just funny in the way that it's set up. It's funny in the way like who the characters are and how like they're portrayed as the typical people in horror books. And then in the book, like each chapter has its own, like the book is like a catalog, and each chapter you get a different piece of furniture, and the pieces of furniture slowly get more and more like horrifying and turn into like torture devices. And it's just really funny. I think it's a good segue into horror if you don't read a lot of horror or you haven't read horror. It does get a little spooky, scary, but I think it's palatable, and I'm excited to read everything from Grady Hendrix. Then I read Two Dark Reigns by Kendare Blake. I have it somewhere. It's a physical book I own, and I gave this one 4 stars. This is book 3 in the 3 Dark Crowns series, and I also did this as a buddy read with Lacey from Lacey D. Bell, and that was really fun. This book was good. You can tell that it was originally set up as a duology. This book has a lot of build up, and a lot of the characters are traveling and moving, and there's a whole lot of kind of like nothing that really happens throughout most of the book until like the very end. But as a fan of the series, I still liked it. I still love all the characters. I wish there was more done with certain things I can't really talk about without being spoilery. But the ending and like the way that the turn that this series took, I just did not expect. I'm really excited for the 4th and final book for next year. I do plan on doing a more detailed book talk on this, just because I got a lot of feelings. So if you had read this book and you want to hear my thoughts, stay tuned for that. Okay, and finally, this is my only one. My only 5-star read this month was Empire Storms by Sarah J. Maas. This is book 5. Book 5 in the Throne of Glass series. I read this as an ebook from my library, and so good. Like, this is like my favorite in the series so far, just because like so much action happens. There's so many battles, so much is happening. We finally get like, you know, some action in the love department, and I mean, it's kind of like eye-rolly that everyone's getting like paired off, but I loved it. Like, I just love all the people in this book, and I loved all the things, and I'm so excited for Kingdom Ash. Like, I just read Tarot Dawn too, and I love Tarot Dawn. Okay, so I counted, and it was 13 different things and 2 DNFs, so that was a pretty great month. So yeah, thank you guys for watching. I'll see you next time. Bye!